Hey everybody, it's November, and things are rolling along. And we had a little bit of a technical difficulty. That's why we're running a little bit late here. But as you can see today, we're shredding with guitarist Rene Benton. We're trying to get this rolling here. Hang tight.
Can you dig it?
All right, so let's get this off of here. Now, let me see what we got. I'm going to bring Rene in here. Hold on. Hello? Oh, can I not hear you still? Oh, what is going on? That's so weird. Man. Okay, hang on, folks. We're going to get this. Let's see. And let's see, because you're on your computer. So what? Check. You see the settings. Maybe check and see if your correct mic is chosen. You go under there and go under audio. And then see if the right mic is.
How about now?
Hey, I got you, man.
All right.
I got you. I love it.
Hopefully it's not too bad, man.
No, you sound great.
Okay.
Yeah.
My goodness, man. I'm so sorry.
Oh, hey, no, man. That's part of the game, dude. It's like a gig. It's like we've both played plenty of gigs. It's like, wait, what?
Oh my goodness, man. Thanks for having me, Stu. I apologize, man. I signed in early this morning just to make sure everything was groovy.
Awesome.
And lo and behold.
Yeah. And then we could hear each other earlier. And then all of a sudden we couldn't. It was weird.
We could.
It was okay. First thing I got to do is I got to bring. Well, no. First thing I got to do is talk about how was your Veterans Day?
Thank you. It was
thank
groovy.
You.
It was very groovy. Awesome. A lot of people said thank you for your service, and that's always a huge plus, because some people just think of Veterans Day as a holiday, and it's right. Technically it is that, but it's more geared towards veterans. But they make early Christmas shopping, so there you have it.
Well, it is one of the freedoms that we have.
It is definitely one of the freedoms
because of you guys. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
wanted
brother.
To make sure I passed that along.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's an interesting world in which we live right now with that. We've got people who are not necessarily wanting to celebrate that.
Yeah, that's their prerogative.
It is their prerogative. Yeah. I just, you just hope. It's kind of like if a child is rebuking their parents who have made a good life for them, and you're kind of like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, there is that.
You're like, okay, can we just step back and take a look at what happened? Something that you've never done,
right?
And think about what they have done, what you all have done. I've got several friends that have been in the military, and I'm very thankful for.
Oh, cool, brother.
For all of you, and for those that I don't know, and for those that we've lost. I mean, that's something I don't take for granted. It's not, and I have to be honest, it's not like I'm sitting here going, I think about it every day. But in some way, I suppose we do. Those of us who honor that and understand, that we do, because we are thankful for the things that we have.
Indeed, man. Thank you, my brother.
Yeah. Now you were a part of
the Marines.
Yes. And how many years?
Total of 6, 4 reserve. 4 active, 2 reserve.
Cool. What was did you have a favorite time within that you really enjoyed?
I don't think there's enjoyment in the Marine Corps. It's just more of I survived it. It's not like the Air Force and Army where people have these really great memories. No, the Marines, it's more of I made it through, because what makes the Marine Corps different from every other branch is every other branch you go in and you do a particular job. Now, the Marine Corps has the same type of arrangement. For example, I was an aircraft structural mechanic. I worked on C-130s. However, one of the things that the primary thing they drive home is that you're a basic rifleman, regardless of your job.
Right.
And so the emphasis is on that. So in other words, let's say one day you could be working on planes, and the next day they say, "Hey, Benton, you're on guard duty in Lebanon." Here we go.
Wow.
So that's what makes it unique.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
How long does it take to get there from here?
Oh wow.
I mean,
I'm not sure. I don't.
Okay.
Remember.
Okay. I mean, I've flown over to, to England. We've flown to Amsterdam, but that's pretty much it for mine as far as a long flight is concerned.
Yeah. No Asia, no Middle East for you, right?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. That's been my dwelling place, Asia, Middle East, and a lot of Europe, Eastern Europe. Pretty much it's been really, really cool.
Yeah.
A lot of flights, man. I I need to. I saw what you posted. And I realized that I have to have my web guy update a couple things.
Okay.
Because I've been to 42 states and over 70 countries since that resume was kind of put up on the website. But
well, there you go. So
no
now
one
you
pays
get to
attention.
update it live right here.
I get to update it right live. Yeah, man. So over 70. I say over 70 because it gets really cloudy after that. So the way I track it is I send postcards from wherever I'm at in the world, and I send it to my parents.
Very cool.
So I look at these postcards and I say, "Oh man, I forgot I was there." Because see, once you're in Europe, you don't get stamps. That's what people don't understand.
Right.
You have to go through a whole lot. You only get stamped entry and out, as you well know. You just don't get it. It's like the US. You get that one stamp in, one stamp out.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful. I've gotten a lot of stamps. But the only way I could really keep track is through postcards, something tangible.
Yeah.
And that's when I discovered, I said, it's been over 70 countries to date.
Wow.
Places I forgot about that I said, oh, that's right. I was in Bora Bora, but I'm not into snorkeling and all that stuff. So I kind of forgot that I was there until I saw a card.
Yeah. So that's a thing that you still do to this day, wherever you go, you send a card.
To this day.
Wow, that's awesome, because
to this day
I love sending letters and things to my kids, to even my best friends' kids, and to other people. I'm like, hey, give me your address, because I like to send cards. Haven't been doing it much this year because I've been too busy, but
busy's good.
But I can't wait to get back into it once we're done with this remodel of the house, and then I'll get back to it, because that's a dream of mine. But people say it's a lost art.
No. It's not, man. It's a lost art to some, because we live in this digital society where people want that instant gratification thing.
Yep.
I'm not into that. I even delay life events. So I might film it or take pictures of it and things of that nature, but I don't do it in real time, which got me thinking. So I was at the NAMM this year.
Yeah.
But I didn't post anything about it until maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm just that kind of guy. But I was thinking, maybe you could help me out here. You and I met at NAMM, but which one and what year?
See, now I'm going to put this up here. That's what I almost made the mistake of starting with this, but I'm glad I remembered to get into the Veterans Day thing first. That's more important. But look at this. This is when I was hanging a little earlier before we started. I was like, oh, come on now, Stu, find that picture.
Whoa.
So now this is when you were doing the Madison in, what was this? 2004. Okay. So you think this was in Nashville?
That was Nashville. You and I met NAMM Nashville.
Definitely. We did in 2004.
That's 2004.
Yeah. And then you and I saw each other again out in California in Anaheim then. And I don't know, it was like, it wasn't long after that.
Really?
It was maybe, as I worked in 2004, I worked that Nashville one, and then kind of immediately went out to the Anaheim one.
Okay.
And we met each other up again there, and you were at the Madison. But see, I was thinking you and I hung out at Scotia. I thought, did you go to the Conklin booth?
Okay. Here's where it comes together. Conklin and Madison shared booths.
Okay. All right.
That's how we connected.
That's what it was.
That definitely Summer NAMM Nashville 04. Easily.
Yes.
Easily that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the Oh, go ahead.
20 years.
20. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly. I told somebody about that. I said, I'm going to sit down and have a live chat with a buddy of mine who we have seen physically. We've seen each other twice. And I'm like, but we still have held on to this friendship that we ignited this friendship in 04. We just got along so well, had such a good time talking.
Yeah.
And you know what was really weird about that Conklin deal? I mean, Al Caldwell was there. We were having a good time.
My man Al.
Holy shit. That bass he was playing. Oh my God.
8 or 9 string?
Yeah, I think it's 9.
It was 9.
And Bill had made an 11 as well. That neck is, I mean, everybody has seen those now. I mean,
yes.
You know, but I was in the Conklin booth. Then I came home and I go, oh shit, that was Bill's booth. I know Bill, a friend of mine back then. He knew Bill. I mean, they'd had a long standing friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am. He's like, oh yeah, he builds basses and stuff. And then I'm here at the booth, just freaking out that I'm at the NAMM show. And here I'm in Bill's booth. And it didn't even flare in my brain.
Right.
I saw those huge bass necks. I'm like, what? I'm like, I got no business in this booth right now.
It's scary stuff, man. That was the whole thing. That was 04. And I want to say that was it was my first Nashville NAMM. I think it was my first Anaheim NAMM as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. And
that's how I got picked up by Madison. I went to their booth and I started playing and said, man, who are you? I said, oh, nobody. They said, no, you got to be somebody. I said, man, I'm nobody. And that started that whole thing. And Madison really felt like a family to me. And apparently they were bought out by some guy who's in Vegas.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, all right.
I still have my Madison head. I had it modified because there were some things I wanted to work on, but I still use that on occasion for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
A great logo. I always loved their logo.
Great logo, man. Marketing was off the charts, man.
Oh man.
Marketing was off the charts. But yes, you and I go back 20 years. That is incredible.
Yeah. That just it struck me straight away. It was just like, wow. And still does. It was still a great logo. It's not one that I look at and go, wow, that's really dated.
No one really came. I think people started trying to emulate that after they did it, but they didn't do it so boldly as they did. So much love to Andy, man, for getting that done.
Yeah, I want to get into some of your things that you've worked on, but before I do that though, let's just, if you can throw yourself back 20 years to that, what was going to your first NAMMs, Nashville, and then subsequently Anaheim? What was a big highlight that stood out? And you don't have to say me.
Outside of you, Stu.
Everybody can throw up in their mouth a little bit right now.
Outside of you, it was just like most people. It was overwhelming. The whole experience was very overwhelming, and I couldn't liken it to anything. Yeah. I didn't know it was so large. I didn't know anything, and I got into the NAMM show because I was working with this guy he was out of LA. He was a drummer, and I got into his kind of a band scenario, and he says, "Man, I got to get you into the NAMM show." I said, "I have no idea what that is. What is that?" Right. And and he couldn't explain it to me really. He said, man, we just have to get you there. And he got me in. He got me my first endorsement deal. My first endorsement deal was with VHT.
Really?
My first endorsement deal in history was VHT. Wow. And to this day, I'm really cool with Steve. Steve has received a lot of postcards from me over the years. So that's my first deal, was with VHT. And when I got with them, they were starting to build preamps. Okay. And that's why I wanted to gravitate towards them. But the preamps never took off. They just went with the head thing, and that was it. But we're still cool to this day. That was the same time where I hooked up with the Madison guys, and they were just really cool. They're out of Colorado, just really good people. Yeah. And they started me on that endorsement journey, and they started me on my clinic journey as well. Oh, wow. They got me into doing clinics. I did a clinic with Kerry King from Slayer and Michael Angelo Badio in Vegas.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez. What a Speed King fest.
Right there. That was my first clinic ever. And I miss Kerry. I came in and Kerry was just getting done doing his thing. But one of the interesting things about Kerry is people are curious, how does he play with the spikes?
Yes.
No one really understands that. How do you do that with spikes?
Yes.
And there's a technique that he does that makes that possible. One of the things that threw me was when I met him, for some reason, I'm 6 foot. So I thought he would be 6 foot, 6'1". He was maybe 5'5".
Yeah.
5'6" and throw. You've seen him, and it threw me. I said, this can't be the real guy that I've seen on MTV. He looks larger than life.
Yeah.
Shook my hand, very gentle guy. And so that was it. So yeah, anyway, I was saying off track. NAMM show was overwhelming for me, man. Yeah. And I learned a lot about the music business as far as equipment goes at NAMM. Mm-hmm. I found out that this is when I found out what Behringer was at NAMM show.
Yeah.
Because Behringer had spies, and they would go from booth to booth, and they would write stuff down, and then I would see a design come out that wasn't necessarily theirs.
Yeah.
That's when I learned. I said, "Oh, this is a real business thing going on here."
Yes.
And Behringer would change because who was it? Okay, so Line 6 had the pod, the kidney shaped thing.
Yep. Yes.
Behringer came out with the van or something. It was similar shape. Mm-hmm. And they did that. They kept doing that over and over and over again. Now, Behringer's a force to reckon with now.
They are, yeah.
But I saw how they did it. Very interesting, man. And the NAMM show has changed a lot. I was at the one this past year, and they don't have all the displays and the booths and everything like that. It's very, very, very office. It feels like an office now. But back then, seeing all the companies really trying to make a go at it and seeing how important it was to get a good review at NAMM. Yeah. It's so business wise. So for me, it remains a very overwhelming experience, a very learning experience, and very social as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, the first one I went to, everybody was like, "Oh God, how's Stewart going to be?" Because he's such a music head, right? So everybody's asking me, "Oh, hey, how was your first NAMM, Stu? Huh?" You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they used to give me shit because, well, first of all, my name is Stewart, and the one thing that everybody thought of back then was Beavis and Butthead, and I was a Winger fan.
Winger's great.
And of course, the dorky kid on Beavis and Butthead wears a Winger shirt.
Yes.
So they're like, "Are you stalking Kip Winger?" I'm like, "Shut up." But to my credit, I could say their discredit, but I don't want to discredit any of them. They're the ones that were the bright minds of St. Louis music, who were creating all the awesome engineering, all the awesome cool stuff for Ampeg and Crate.
Yes.
And but these guys are like, "You having fun?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, I said, "So first thing this morning, I'm walking down the aisle, and who goes past me? Henry Paul. And they're like, who? And I'm like, Henry Paul. Outlaws? Oh, I don't know. I'm like, oh, you be kidding me. Until I met Ron Keel when he was in our booth, because he was a crate endorser years ago. We have photos.
Did not know that.
Here. Yeah. And so I have a photo of he and Brian. I've got a photo from there that he hadn't even seen. He said, before I autograph this, I need to scan it. And so he did. And, but yeah, I said, well, I'll tell you, but nobody else is impressed. I saw Henry Paul, and he goes, oh, Henry's here. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, I just recorded a song with him. Where is he? I'm like, yeah, I don't know, but I saw him this morning. So, but it was funny. You mentioned the height of people, of course. And I always thought that of Eric Bloom from Bloister Cult. I always thought he was like 6 foot, and he's like 5'6", something like that.
Yeah.
Now Buck Dharma is so much shorter than that, even. But,
right.
But yeah, I was looking at Eric Bloom. I'm like, oh, hi, yeah. But yeah, those are great shows. That is what they are, and you make great connections there.
Yes.
And people can, get things started there by bumping into each other, and
no doubt.
Yeah. No doubt. And it's really amazing when you see two separate kinds of worlds coming together, or just two icons to you. Mm-hmm. And you're like, wow, here's Steve Lukather talking to Dweezil Zappa.
Yes.
And I'm just like, this is pretty wild, but no, those are good. Are you going back in January?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm on the fence with it. I'm always open to it, but I don't know. I'll see. I have to fill some things out. But
yeah, I'm either gonna try to go in 25 or 26. I'm gonna. I retire from my current job in May next year. So
wow.
Yeah. And then it's on to whatever, touring with you or whatever.
Hey man, I'm always open for things, man.
Yeah.
I think, because I don't throw away anything, I'd have to look for it, but I have the original card that you gave me.
Far out.
Because I don't throw anything away. I keep everything.
Wow. See,
I'm sure to have it.
I have done that, but now I'm into taking a picture of it and letting it go.
Yes. Because back then, though, it was physical.
Then, yeah.
Very physical then. We weren't so digital back then.
No.
Emails were radical.
Yeah, right. And there was no way I was going to stick all that crap on a scanner. I'm like, oh, yeah. Now you can just throw a bunch of crap on a bed, and then just one at a time, just move them, take a picture, move them, take a picture.
Yeah.
Even some of my artwork that I do, I'm like, it's just a doodle, and I just take a picture so I can do it better later, But
Groovy, man.
Anyway. Now, when did you start playing guitar?
I want to say I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and that happened. My parents got me a toy guitar and a toy drum set for Christmas, and I started out on the little toy drum set. My little brother was crawling, and he built up enough momentum to burst my bass drum head. On a toy drum set. So that was the end of my drumming career, and I started playing guitar. That was pretty much it, man.
It's like I say, Rene, everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. So most things happen for a reason. So that's how I ended up being a guitar player.
Wow.
So I started then. And the coincidentally, I lived right across the alleyway from a full-fledged music studio, as not recording studio, but they taught piano, guitar, and voice. And I didn't want to take lessons back then because I thought it would ruin my cool.
Oh.
I have no idea what a 7-year-old knows about cool, but apparently I must have knew something. And I didn't want to take lessons because the lessons back then aren't as cool as today.
Yeah.
And I felt in my mind, I said, I think if I take lessons with them, I think it's going to be discouraging. And I never did it.
Interesting.
Yeah. back then, though, like I said, back then it was different. You had different people teaching. Most people that were teaching they had gray hair, and they were going to maybe play "Oh Clementine," and I said no, and so that was it. And I remember my parents even asking me, "Don't you want to take lessons?" But literally, I could see it was a house slash music studio. I could literally see it out of my back door, and I didn't even go. I never went, man. I think that building's long gone now, but that was it. I think I ended up taking music lessons throughout school, though. I think I took some music theory class. I learned how to read a little bit. My first reading gig was I played bass drum in 7th grade. Because that was the only, I didn't want to see too many notes, and I just played bass drum.
Well, see, that's what I was. My son did that in high school in the marching.
He did that.
He played bass drum.
Yeah, you don't see too many notes, man. So that made sense to me. And then some theory and stuff later on. But yeah, I started pretty young, man.
Now, do you read now?
Very little.
Little, yeah.
Very, very little, because it's a practice, and if you don't practice it, you lose it. And for a while there, I get reading stuff here and there. I haven't had many reading gigs. And I avoided them like the plague, but not a lot. And I don't have any regrets per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I don't think it hasn't. I don't think I've missed out on too many opportunities because I wasn't a good reader.
Okay.
So I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Have you ever had a situation? Well, now let me tell you this real quick story that, speaking of clinics, I'm eager to have Reb Beach on the show sometime too. Cause
I dig
like yourself, when he and I met up, we just had this kooky, I'll show pictures someday on the show. And we just had this kooky interaction, and he's have you met Reb Beach?
I've never met him. He and I, for a short time, we had the same entertainment attorney.
Oh, wow.
I can't think of the guy's name right now. For a very short period of time.
Okay.
We were trying to work with him. But that's it. But we've never met.
Okay. Yeah, he's very funny, very talented. But when he did his clinic deal here at McMurray Music in St. Louis here, and he was telling us a story about how he was trying to scrape up money. He was hurting for cash, and he's like, I'm lifting the rugs to see if there's change underneath there, and just trying to scrape up enough money to get something at McDonald's. When his agent calls and he goes, hey man, I got this job they want it's a Three Musketeers commercial, and they need somebody who can shred. And he's like, okay. So he shows up, and this whole story is about how he doesn't read or didn't read music.
Yep.
And he's like, I show up, and they're like, oh, here. And they hand him this sheet music, and he's like, oh, shit. So for him, it was shit music. So he's like, could you just play me a little bit of it? I want to kind of get a feel for it. You know how we bullshit.
Yeah.
It's what people do, right? If they really have to.
Yep.
And you have what it takes. But you're like, okay, but I don't know that part.
Don't know that part. Yeah.
But I know I can do this. So he goes, I just need to get a feel for it. I like to get a feel for it. So they play it for him, and he's like, oh, he's like, kind of like that. And they're like, oh, that's great. He's like, okay, cool. So he didn't have to worry about, he just went by feel, and he went by what it was. But yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do. And
yeah,
it doesn't always have to come into play.
Yeah. Yeah. I first heard of Reb before he was with Winger because he was on a Shaka Khan record.
Wow.
That's how I heard of Reb Beach.
Interesting.
Before the Winger deal, because you remember back in the day, we read album credits.
Yes, totally.
That's what we did. That was our internet.
Yep.
And I would read these album credits, and it said Reb Beach. Wow. And I said, I forget the song too, but it was a really cool song. And it was then after that is where I heard of him with Winger. So he became interesting. You say he couldn't read, but he became a session guy.
Yeah. He was on, he was also on Howard Jones 1-to-1 the same year when I was a DJ on a radio station. He played on that album.
Really?
Because I played songs from that on the radio. And Shaka Khan's
Oh.
Destiny.
There we go.
Wow. He was on Love Is for Suckers by Twisted Sister too.
Wow. See, he made his rounds, man.
Wow.
Incredible.
Okay.
Cat. Yeah.
That's crazy. He was on Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me from the Lost Boys with Roger Daltrey.
See?
Holy shit. There's a lot to unpack here.
Lots to unpack, man.
Man. Oh, so anyway. But yeah, it's yeah, he's a cool cat like yourself. And then so when did you decide on your well, I mean, you are, if you don't mind, to me, you're a shredder. It goes a little further than it obviously goes further than that. You're beyond it. It would be unfair to go, you're just a shredder, man. That's not what I mean. But I mean, you are experimental as well. And there's a lot of feeling within what you do, right?
Yes.
It's not just straight ahead. It's not, it's not just like, oh, I know where this is going, Let me put this up real quick too, because here's your album Expressions.
Yeah. Yep. That's the first.
And this was in what year was this? This was 2000.
No, it came out in 2016. It was recorded in 96.
Oh, 96. Okay, cool. 96. That was a couple of years ago. Yeah. Who did the artwork here?
It was a guy. I was in a band with this guy.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, I want you to just listen to every song I have, and I want you to make an image of it. So I have a song. If you look at the titles, I have a song called, let me think. Inner City Blues.
Yes.
Which is a Marvin Gaye cover. I have a song called Love Is Pain. A song called Halo of the Horns. A song called Save Me. Round Trip.
Yep. You're doing good.
Cosmel.
Definition.
Yeah, Definition is just me talking.
Hollywood Jesus.
Yeah,
and
about that.
Let's see.
What else I got?
There's oh man, this is really hard to read. Closing Thought.
That's just thought. That's me just thought.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is it
Cozumel?
Yeah, Cozumel. There it is.
Yeah.
Of Elizabeth. What is that?
Oh, the Perpetual Dream of Elizabeth Iris. I forgot. Yeah, man. I forgot about that song. So I had them just I said, just make artwork corresponding with every title. And that was, I did that in 96, but I didn't release it until 2016. And here's why.
Okay.
I never wanted a record deal. I just wanted to make sure I was good enough to get one. Okay.
All right.
Because we didn't have the internet to get thumbs up. We didn't have likes.
Right.
So if you're, I was a road musician. I did the Holiday Inn circuit, Ramada Inn circuit.
Wow.
I did all that where guys dressed alike and did dance steps and all. I did all of that, and because I sing and play, so that's how I would get gigs that other guys didn't get. So I did that, and then I stopped doing that. I said I think I could do this until I'm 90 years old. Why don't I try something else? and so I stopped, and I moved back to Nebraska. So I moved to Lincoln, the college town. And I was in a local music store, and I was sitting in a corner playing, and a couple things happened. He asked if I give him guitar lessons, and he asked, do I have any music of my own? Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, I think I can give you lessons. I don't know what I can show you, but I don't have any music of my own, not really. He says, you really should do that. Yeah. So this is early. This had to be 92 when I first started kind of doing some just demos, 8-track Tascam demos.
Wow.
And I sent out demo tapes and all that stuff, because that's all we had then, demo tapes. And one of the first record companies I heard from was Metal Blade.
Oh.
And I heard from Epic. And just hearing from them and them being interested in me, that let me know, okay, I'm okay. I'm not great or anything, but I'm good enough, right? And so I put that to bed. And it was 4 years after that, 2 years after that, I met my entertainment attorney that I ended up going with out of Colorado. I was on the road with a band, and I'm in a music store just kind of messing around.
Yeah.
And a guy says, man, you got your own stuff? I said, yeah. He said, then someone asked me a question I never heard in my life. He said, do you have an entertainment attorney? No. I knew of an attorney, but I didn't have an entertainment attorney.
Right.
And
there's a difference, right?
There's a difference. And I said, no. And he says, here's a card of ours. Now, this guy, you remember a band called Magnitude 9?
Yeah, I yes.
With Rob Johnson.
Yes.
It was the guys from that band. They'd hook me up with my entertainment attorney.
Oh, wow.
It's a small world, right? And so I got with him in 94. He heard what I was doing. He says, hey, you need to record this with a band, because at that point it was just me, a bass player, drum machine, and me playing guitars and keys and everything. He said, you need to do this with a band. So in 96, that's when I recorded Expressions. Wow. Now, after that, things got really interesting to me. And this is why I'm telling you why it didn't come out.
Yeah.
So, and I was getting close to putting it out, but never did. So, my entertainment attorney connected with two people.
Okay.
He connected with Madonna's label, Maverick. Remember Maverick Records?
Mm-hmm.
And he connected me to, then, Aftermath Records, Dr. Dre.
Wow.
Dr. Dre at the time, before he found Eminem, between MWA and Eminem, he was just floundering. He was trying to figure out his direction.
Yeah.
He was coming out with this concept called ghetto metal. And he was, in particular, looking for Black artists that did harder edge music.
Mm-hmm.
That was yet different. So I fit in that category. Not to make this about skin, but that's what it was.
Well, I know. Yeah. But...
And so I remember this young lady, she's from Australia, and I told her what was going on. She says, you mean you're going to be with gangsters? I said, no, they're not gangsters.
Yes. No.
Yeah. And so that didn't work out. And then that didn't work out because I said, I don't know if I would want that label anyway. And then the person at Maverick, I think that person left. Oh, okay. So about 97, my entertainment attorney hooked me up with David Chastain.
Oh, wow.
David Chastain is a record broker, which I didn't know what that meant at the time. That just means he brokers deals worldwide for different people.
Okay.
Chastain heard what I did, and he said, it's too chunky. Now, keep in mind, this is 97. No one was going except me. Because everyone was going, Jean. That's what it was. But I brought in what I'm familiar with, which was my R&B and funk sensibility without making it funk rock. I just took rhythmic patterns and played them over stuff because that's all I really knew. That was my comfort zone. Yeah. He says it was too chunky. Huh. But yet the cats at Metal Blades thought it was cool, but he said it was too chunky. And I said, oh, and I talked to someone at Lasers Edge Records, and they just said, no, we're more in the bands. And again, I wasn't trying to get a deal. My entertainment attorney was trying to get me something. But yeah, so I encountered all of those folks. So when he said it was too chunky, I said, what, too chunky? What does that mean? And my entertainment attorney said this to me, and it sticks with me to this day. He says, hey, Rene, they're just not really ready for what you're doing. But trust me, they will be in a few years. Yeah. No problem. And then you started to see bands submerge that were doing really chunky stuff. Keep in mind, Korn, Mudvayne, all those cats started doing that. Yeah. But they weren't doing it prior to that. I just didn't have all that going on. I wasn't trying to be different or anything. I was just in a comfort zone when it came to rhythmic stuff. Yeah. Bouncing off what you were saying, kind of I wasn't trying to be unique. It just came out that way. But they weren't ready. I was doing I was doing all the samples and stuff that was in my music. They weren't doing that. The chunkier rhythm, no one was doing that. It took some years before that became part of the whole situation.
Yeah.
So that's, I said, recorded in 95, 96. And you listen to that and you go back to see what everyone else was doing, and you'll see there was a distance there.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be different. That's just what came out of me. So that's why it didn't come out. I had to wait.
When you were first getting rolling, though, was that the direction you thought you were going to go?
No.
So did you think it was going to be more in a funk?
First, a few things. I tell people all the time, my segue, which I'm not going to call it segue, just say my encompassing musical experience was very organic, because I came up playing funk and R&B and soul and jazz and all of that type of stuff. That's my thing. So, I came up, I never played the guitar, but I came up doing stuff like, are we really happy here with this lonely game we play? Yeah. Looking for words to say. That's what I knew. I didn't know all this. That came way late.
Wow.
So I never had a bridge, meaning I didn't have a classic rock background.
Yeah.
I pretty much went from Minneapolis funk to Yngwie Malmsteen. I didn't know anything in between.
Oh, wow.
So, I didn't know rules.
So were you not familiar with like Mother's Finest at that time?
No, I'm familiar with Mother's Finest. They're R&Bs. They had a song called Love Changes. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
I didn't know the other stuff they were doing.
Yeah. Moving on. Wow. Yeah. That Iron Age album kicks ass.
Didn't know. I didn't know about them until many, many years later.
Me too.
Didn't know. I didn't know any of that stuff because I only listened to funk and R&B. That's it. Funk, R&B, kind of fusiony jazz stuff, and little gospel here and there. That's all I ever knew. I didn't. The only rock I got exposed to, if it wasn't on the radio, I didn't know about it. Okay. If you weren't big enough to be on Midnight Special or Don Kirshner's rock concert, I didn't know about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was my exposure. Yeah. So that's how I knew about Stixx and Kansas and Toto, because they were out there. So I didn't know that. I'm not going to say I didn't know who Jimi Hendrix was, but he didn't play a role in my life because I wasn't trying to play like that.
Yeah. And you weren't deep diving into that. I didn't deep dive into Hendrix when I was younger. I knew of him, and I knew certain songs. I knew what he had done, but I didn't deep dive. That's why I used to give people shit in high school, because they'd have these Jimi Hendrix badges and whatnot on, and I go, "Oh, you're a Hendrix fan?" And they're like, "Oh, hell yeah, man!" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, Machine Gun, right?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, great song." I'm like, "You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what that. You would piss all over that song if I played that for you. You'd be like, what the hell is this?"
Right.
I'm like, because it's not for you.
It's not for you.
Not for me. It's for guitar players.
That's it. Pretty much.
Holy shit! Did you hear what he was doing on that?
Yeah. So no, man. The what I'm doing now was never part of anything. When I started recording demos in my head, it sounded a certain way. When it got put to tape, I said, I am no longer part of the R&B club. Whoops. Because I said, that's not what I heard in my head. And so it just became, it was an accident. Yeah. And a buddy of mine worked at a music store, and he would give me instructional tapes. Oh. And I had literally every instructional tape you can imagine. I had George Lynch, I had Jeff Watson, I had Brad Gillis.
Wow.
I had Yngwie Malmsteen. I
Randy?
had
was there a Randy one or ever? Randy Rhoads?
Nope. Because if anyone did a Randy Rhoads instructional video, it was Wolf Marshall that did that.
Yeah, okay.
Because I didn't get any Wolf stuff. Of course, I had Tony McAlpine, which is my only rock guitar guy.
Dude, I gotta talk to you about him a little bit too.
He's one of my influences, man.
Man, that dude is great.
He's incredible cat. And of course, Greg and I end up kind of becoming friends.
Okay.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
He was very inspirational. He wasn't an influence. And just a list of those guys. And so I would just sit up and look at all these videos. I look at videos, Joe Pass and Arlen Roth and Danny Gatton. And I was taking in all this stuff. And I said, I like this, but this is what I am. How can I merge this stuff? Yeah. And that's how I kind of came up with a guitar voice, so to speak. But I tell people I never had that bridge. Because a lot of cats who are in more of the progressive style of guitar, they have that classic rock bridge that they got to cross to get there. I never had that bridge. That's so
wild.
Yeah, I never had it. So I literally Headbangers Ball was kind of like me going to community college or four-year college. I learned off of watching Headbangers Ball. I read Metal Edge and Metal Maniac, and I was taking crash courses because I said I don't sound the way I used to sound, so I need to know what I'm getting into. And I had to start learning about gear more, because in an R&B realm, it's not so much about gear and pickups and all that stuff. Not really, unless you're a bass player, then it's EMG'd out. But I had to learn all this stuff and continuously learn. And then I don't naturally do things, and I had to learn stuff. And that's where I learned about instructional videos. I learned that some of the best players are not really good teachers.
Yeah, right.
It was bad. It was bad.
Yeah, you're like, dude, teach me. And then you're like, okay, I don't get it.
It was bad. And I said, okay, got it. They're not good at that. So I would just take bits and pieces and say, okay, I like that. Let me pull some of that into what I'm doing. But no, man, answer your question. No, I never thought I'd end up here. It was very organic. And I want to mark the timeline actually where it started to transition. I would say it had to be early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was living in Atlanta. That's when I first started kind of the musical journey. I was playing the Chitlin circuit down there and just doing the hits of the day. And I almost remember to the day where guitar no longer became cool in R&B and funk music. I always remember that day. I remember being a guitar player and everyone else could take a solo, but when I took a solo, they would plug their ears and I wasn't even that loud, which lets me know guitar was no longer in vogue anymore. I said, what am I going to do? No one had a problem with me taking loud keyboard solos, but guitar, it was something about that. And that changed everything, man. But
like drummers in the disco days, man.
Yes, man. Yeah, it was like
no,
that.
dude, just this. Just doom, 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 doom. That's it. Yeah. Bass players had a blast, but
yes. So that was the journey, man, and it continues. But no, brother,
that's great.
Never in my wildest dreams thought that I would make kind of the type of stuff I'm doing today. Never.
That is so cool. Tell me about your band. You have this brand new video. Now, the video are you releasing that soon?
Yeah. So I wanted to send you the video because it's kind of a teaser because the record's coming out. So I'm releasing the record. Gosh, man, I was just talking to my guy today. So I'm releasing the record just per normal, but I'm releasing it in Atmos.
Okay.
Then I'm trying to get the video in Atmos, which is I'm dealing with that now. And then it's a 3-part thing here. So I'm releasing it so folks can just kind of listen to the songs.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to release the whole album in its entirety. And then I'm also trying to, I'm doing the record's called To Live in Omaha, Live in Omaha. And so it's more, it's historic. And I did a lot of interviews with people who had been around for years because I had left and I came back and the city had changed a lot. And so I started talking to different people about different things. And so I just happen to have songs that kind of line up to the subject matter So it's a lot going on there. But yes, releasing it. It's supposed to come out at the end of this month.
Okay.
And
What's
I
the
just want to
name
give
of
you a
it?
sneak. It's To Live in Omaha,
Yeah.
live in Omaha.
And you're spelling that a little different
I
too.
spelled it differently so you wouldn't get it confused, because I wanted you to see what live and then live, right? To live in Omaha,
right?
live in Omaha. That way you make no mistake. Oh, I get it.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I'm releasing that.
That's great.
I want to give you that. No one else is really seeing that except folks like yourself, but
correct
media people.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put that out for everybody to check out.
That's
And
great.
I'm doing it a little differently because in this day and age, it's hard to hang on to intellectual property. And so the only way you can see the video is you have to go to my website and buy it.
Cool.
I'm not just throwing it up on YouTube. I'm not doing it that way. When I shot the video, I didn't allow any cameras, no phones, no nothing, because I was filming it.
Right.
And so I hired security to make sure no one did anything. I'm that serious. So I protected it. So because I knew what I was going to be doing down the road. And so I figured if people really want to see it, they'll go there.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got to stay tight, because where are you located now?
Arizona is still home.
Cool.
Arizona,
Whereabouts?
Scottsdale.
Oh, I was just talking about Scottsdale.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because I had an interview with someone that was out there in Arizona. So, and I said, yeah, when I was a kid, we used to go to Scottsdale. That's because
really
my grandparents lived in Sun City.
I know Sun City.
So I was too young, so I wasn't 18 yet, so I couldn't do all the things there, because it was you had to be 18 and above for a lot of things.
Sure.
So we'd go to Scottsdale and hang out, and that's I just told my guest the other day, I said I was I still remember we went into some novelty shop, probably what's the store now where you can go to in the mall. They have a song about what's the girl? It's like Hot Topic girl, right?
Hot Topic. Wow.
Right. So it was like one of these souvenir shops, and everything in Scottsdale. And that's the first time I ever saw the Creature from the Black Lagoon poster that said, "Who peed in the pool?" But yeah, Scottsdale was the place we could go and drive go-karts and
man,
do all the fun shit. So
yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so you're there, and then but I'll have to keep in touch with you if you ever have some, because I would love to have gone to see that and been a part of something like that. So but I mean, Lord knows what I was doing at that time, but I'm now, soon to be available.
So. It was filmed in Omaha.
Yeah
because I hadn't performed in Omaha in about 37 years.
Wow.
So it took a lot to pull all that together. So that was 37 years, man. I hadn't struck a note in the city or the state. Well, I'm sorry, at least the city. And so it was kind of a culmination of things.
That's cool.
But yeah, that's what's up with that, man.
Yeah, because we have there's a gentleman that Sam Spade, he's got his band, the Midnight Devils, and he's out of Lincoln, Nebraska, and and so I've had him on the show multiple times, and they do tours over in England and Japan and Australia and all this stuff. I'm
not hip to him. What type of band?
It's kind of it's a cross between, it's a punk style. There's a few of these bands that are doing this kind of a thing right now, but these guys are much younger than I am, but it's like a punk with an 80s hair metal feel, and it's called the Midnight Devils.
Okay.
Yeah, and they just released a new record that was produced by Rick Brody, and also worked on by Cher Ross and Bam Bam Ross down in Florida.
Okay.
So, yeah, and they're doing great. They just came back from a tour over in the UK, and then they went over to, that's where they went to Japan. I almost went to the Japan tour with them, but I couldn't work it out. So
I gotta see how that would feel for this almost 60-year-old dude.
You'd like Asia, man. It's a different vibe. I lived in Japan from
Really?
1999 2001. Yeah, I was gigging. I had a house gig over there, and
Wow.
so I had the house gig in Tokyo. And I took a pause, and I had a house gig in Dubai. Then I came back and went to another part of Japan, which is Nagoya. So yeah, that's yeah, man.
We're gonna have to keep. Let's do ourselves a favor, because there's so much awesome scope in your career that I would love to have you back on.
Sure.
And we can just nail down. We don't have to do a long show, but we could just nail down some of those. I would love to get your views and your feelings on those times. Those would be great, man.
Absolutely. I
think that'd be a blast.
I'm out.
Now, once you started finding that direction, I do have to ask one other shredder at the time. Did you have a Vinnie Moore video?
Yes.
I just met him here. I met him at the NAMM show years ago, like in 2009.
Yeah.
Out there in Anaheim. And but this time he played here and I got to see him play. He opened up for King's X. It was the same night. And at a great club here. It was great to meet up with him. And I bought in 1986, I bought that Mind's Eye album. That was so awesome.
Mind's Eye. Now, I of course I had Vinny's instructional video. I didn't get Mind's Eye, but Meltdown, when he had that commercial success.
Yes.
That took him over the edge. And then he did the Alice Cooper gig. So things where he was just getting to the next plateau, like most of those Shrapnel cats do. But that Meltdown record, dude.
Kick ass.
I think he even detuned on that record, if I'm not mistaken.
That he what?
He detuned on that record. I want to say
he did a
drop D, which was very unusual.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain he detuned on that record, which was mind-blowing at the time.
Yeah, there's a lot of beef in that record, man. It's
incredible record, man. It was just that took him to that next plateau. It's I'm not going to single out him, but there's that realm of cats who were they could really shred and kill the guitar, but they were good songwriters too.
Right.
That's kind of the major difference, is that the cats who survived in that realm, they were good songwriters.
Satriani,
great songwriter.
Right.
Great songwriter, man. He gets it, but I think there's an advantage to being a guitar player and initially being in a band and then going solo. There's an advantage because you learn about structure, you learn about what works with a crowd and things of that nature. If you think about it, some of the most prominent guitar players in multiple genres, they were in band scenarios first. George Benson played with Jack McDuff first, right?
Yep.
Yngwie Malmsteen with Alcatraz first.
Yep.
Steve Vai was with Frank Zappa, Alcatraz first.
Yeah.
Right.
Robert Mosello wasn't he with Danger?
Danger Andy Timmons.
And he was an Iron Horse with Ron Keel.
Okay. Again,
band for their first album.
Yeah, very band oriented. The list is quite long. There's something to that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Some people they're just straight up soloists and they create material around them. But there's something about the songwriter cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about
and Tony did it the opposite direction.
He did it opposite.
Yeah.
He did it opposite. But then again, I mean, he had a band called Autumn Lords back in the day. They just didn't.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. I forgot about that.
Dude, I'm a Tony historian.
Because he has a song called that, right?
Autumn Lords. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So he had that going on. So he understood the structure of it all.
Right.
Which is just something about it, man. Jimmy played with Little Richard, Isley Brothers. Wilson Pickett. So he was in an environment that he understood structure and song and how to work crowd. And you saw what took place with that.
Yeah. Ted Nugent worked with different people before he started off.
Yep. Who was it? Jeff Beck.
Yes. Yep.
he did his thing. So before he went solo,
yeah, you're right.
They understand. It's something about that, man.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys should embrace that more. There's cats now, younger cats coming up. They can play circles around me. They can play circles around a lot of cats, but I'm talking about me. They can play circles around me. I say this a lot. When you're that advanced technically, you have to take a step back, and maybe you need to either get with a band that's really has really good songwriters, or partner with a songwriter, so your guitar can be more of a vehicle than a showcase.
Which, in very many interviews later, we heard that about Yngwie in the early days. Where they're just like, I couldn't get basically musically, I couldn't get a word in edgewise.
Yeah.
Where and I get that. I mean, Yngwie is one of those guys. Either you can love his music, but whatever. But I get it. I'm like, this is a guy he's from Europe, and he's been playing all of his life. Yeah, maybe he just doesn't know how to integrate, but killer stuff.
But again, he started with a band scenario.
Yeah.
And hey, no one can deny Yngwie knows how to write a song if he feels like writing a song. He wrote Heaven Tonight. That was a smash hit.
Song. Yep.
He understood the assignment. So it's not as if he doesn't know. And that's what I'm talking about. There's probably a lot of people who are very technically proficient, but they don't understand the songy aspect of it. And that's why there's not a lot of, I'm just talking guitar community here, there's not a lot of individualism that's happening now. What I mean by that is that you were talking about Vinnie Moore.
Yeah.
Vinnie Moore, Tony McAlpine, Yngwie Malmsteen, Greg Howe. Back in the day, you could close your eyes and people could put on random records. You go, oh, that's Greg. Oh, that's Tony. Oh, that's Vinnie. Oh, that's Joe Tafola.
Friedman.
That's Marty Friedman. Close your eyes. You wouldn't have to see him.
Right.
But you could hear him.
Yep.
Today, when we're at least within that whole rock metal guitar community, we're at the peak of technical right about now. If you had to do a blind taste test like they did back in the day, you wouldn't be able to pick out one guitar player from another. If they paid you $1 billion, you would struggle.
Yeah, and I, wow, yeah, because to me, there's a couple of different reasons why. Number one, you don't just go buy a record and digest it and go, that's that band and that's that guitar player. It's like, here's a track here, here's a track there. These guys have a shredder, so that's one reason why, to me, we just don't digest music the same as we used to. It's, it's kind of tough.
Yeah. And that listening back in the day, and not, once again, this is not an attack on what's going on right now. It's just an observation. Back in the day, when, let's just say you want to try and learn a tune, and you would get it maybe 90% right and 10% improv, but that's where you would learn your style. And I think that, as I said, right now we're at the technical peak of everything right now, as far as guitar being so proficient and perfect and everything like that. But somewhere along the line, they don't value having a guitar voice anymore.
Do you think there's anybody out there that can help? It's like somebody like Wolfgang Van Halen is doing great stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm not listening to it going, yeah, there's the new Van Halen stuff. You're like, that's mammoth and that's great.
Yep.
He knows structure. He learned from one of the best.
He definitely.
So I really enjoyed. He was the only. I hate to say it, but he was one of the only bright moments in Ozzy's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. He was one of the only bright points there. I mean, Zach is always a bright point to me. Zach kicks ass.
Zach is killing, man.
And Chad was killing it on the drums, but
yeah,
the vocals were Trujillo. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth any of that, but Wolfgang was definitely a big bright spot in and amongst those veterans, but I almost want to call Wolfgang a veteran because of his background.
He's definitely a veteran, and he has a voice.
Yeah, he does.
He has a guitar voice, and he sings great. He has a guitar voice. That's one of the hardest things to do, is have a distinctive guitar voice. Especially nowadays in the particular climate. As I said, you could just go online and just turn your back and say, name that guitar player, and you'd say, well, I'm not quite sure. Unless they reveal a certain type of technique, and then you would say, oh, that's Animals as Leaders.
See. Yeah.
But it was revealing of a technique that parted their ways. So you got one, but it's through technique. But then you start moving down the road and you're saying, wait a minute, I think I know who that is, but I'm not sure. You didn't play guessing games about 25, 30 years ago with who was playing guitar. You knew it. You know how great it was, because you can listen to Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And you know when it's Murray and when it's Smith.
Thank you for saying that.
In the same band.
Yes.
In the same band.
Yeah.
Same thing with Rat.
Yeah.
Right. You knew it was DeMartini or what's the Crosby?
Robin Crosby. Yeah.
You knew. And that's in the same band.
Yeah. Good call, man. Good call.
I'm not even going to get into the Eagles. I'm not going to go there. But you get my point.
Yeah.
It's the same band. And you said, oh, wait, that's Joe Walsh right there.
Yeah.
That's Fry right there. You didn't have to see it. You said, oh yeah, man, this is my favorite part right here. When he does it, that's the way it was.
Yeah. Well, what was one of our, let me see if you can latch onto this. What was one of the, and it wasn't totally Dio driven. I mean, Bane was the front of it really, but what was one of the huge things that we had in the 80s, the mid 80s, that just, it was literally 85, 86, that was exactly like that. Oh, that's that guy. Oh, that's that guy. Oh, that's when they did Stars. When the heavy metal community did their thing for the Band-Aid thing.
I have a story with that.
Oh, please.
Okay. Now, you talking was it We Are Strong or something? I can't remember the chorus, but
We're Stars.
We Are Stars. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. So I knew someone that gave me a cassette tape of this thing. And keep in mind, I'm just trying to learn. I'm still trying to learn. I was trying to learn. And it was in the key of A, if I'm not mistaken, which is a great rock key.
Of course.
And so my buddy gives me this tape. He says, man, check this out. This is really cool. It was a dubbed tape.
Okay.
Now, I could hear different singers, but I thought it was one guitar player. Oh. So I sat around trying to learn all these different parts of these different guitar players, because I didn't know. There was no visual that I saw at the time. So I'm sitting up here trying to nail all these different parts. And I said, wow, this guitar player is really throwing a lot of styles in there. I just thought it was one.
He's so diverse.
I said, I can't believe how, because keep in mind, they had Buck Drama. You had Brad Gillis.
Yep. You had Yngwie Malmsteen.
You had Yngwie.
And
had
Adrian and Dave.
Adrian and Dave. You George, I want to say George was in there.
George Lynch. Yeah. Neil Schon.
Yes.
You had
was Chris Impertelli in there?
Vivian Campbell.
Yeah, Vivian. I had his instructional video too.
I don't think Fratelli was in there. You had let's see, was there anything else?
Was it the cast from Rough Cut?
Oh, Carlos Cavazo.
Yes.
But there's one other one that was because I don't think they didn't have Warren DeMartini on there.
I thought they did.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. I could be not remembering that right. Yeah, the Buck Dharma one was great. I want to No, because that was Vivian Campbell. Yeah, because I was like, Craig Goldie wasn't on that, I don't think.
I think Craig Goldie was on there.
You think he was one of them?
Yeah, because that's how I think eventually that's how I heard of him.
Okay. Because I know I've got the vinyl right here.
Check the names.
But I'm having an issue because I'm like calling it stars, and then I'm just like, for some reason I'm losing the, hearing aid. That's what it is.
There we go.
Yeah. Ronnie James Dio. Okay. So, the project was spearheaded by Ronnie James Dio, Jimmy Bain, and Vivian Campbell. And, the project also included contributions by Tommy Aldrich, Blue Oyster Cult, Dokken, Jafria. So Craig Goldie was there because of Jafria.
Okay. Yep.
So you're right. Judas Priest because Rob Halford was there. Motley Crue.
Okay.
But Mick, I don't think they don't show him doing a solo. Was Ojeda? Is he the guy from? He's a guitar player
Twisted Sister.
Twisted Sister. So he did a solo. I don't know that Chris Holmes did one. He was there, but I don't think he did one. And of course, Spinal Tap. And I don't. And yeah. So I don't. Here we go. Lead vocals were all of those guys and Paul Shortino. Then Vivian Campbell, Carlos Cavazzo, Buck Dharma, Brad Gillis, Craig Goldie. We're doing pretty good so far. Yngwie Malmsteen, Eddie Ojeda, and Neil Schon. So we got it. We did do it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Maybe there were more people. Many years later, I saw the video. I saw a lot of folks, but
Ronnie James Dio did vocals. Rob Halford, Kevin DeBro, Eric Bloom, Jeff Tate, Dave Menichetti. God, I love Dave Menichetti. Don Dokken and Paul Shortino. So,
rough cut.
Yep, you are absolutely right. And a good buddy of Ron Keel. Yeah, they are good buddies. So yeah, that was one of those things though. When you're talking about it, that's a fun one to sit there and listen to and go, oh, that's that guy. Oh, yep, that's Buck Dharma. Yep, that's, Now it gets a little dicey when you get into the Craig Goldie moments like that, where you're like, you didn't maybe have the time. You didn't hear a lot of the Craig Goldie stuff all the time. But when you hear that Ojeda solo, you're like, oh, yeah, that's woo, woo, woo. He's doing all the whammy bar stuff. Yeah. And Brad Gillis, of course, when he does that,
right.
Many years later, I was, how does he do that? And my friend goes, oh, he goes like this, flips the bar, and he goes, So anyway.
Great stuff, man. Guitar voices, man. But yeah, that's my point of we probably need to try and bring guitar voices back. I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon though, because everyone's really obsessed with having the chops. Nothing wrong with that. But you don't get hired a lot for chops.
No, not to sell. You know what I mean? I'm
not saying not at all, but you don't get hired a lot for chops. Most of the time, they're just kind of, you're holding you in a certain place, and then they let you shine a little bit. But only certain bands that are into that. But it's not. Guys that play the least amount of notes get the most gigs, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. I'm so glad that you mentioned earlier about structure and things. I have two questions. So let's bank this one.
Yes, sir.
My buddy and I were watching a band at a gig that we played, and he said, bank that. Hold on to that. I had a question from earlier. When it comes down to like structure, like deep structure, and we were talking about reading music, is there a possibility that you can have a feel for structure without being able to read the music? And because I've played in a band for years with a good friend of mine, and they were like, okay, here's the count. It's a and he goes, fuck that. I don't go by count. I just go by feel.
Really?
Like, I get that.
Okay.
And he had a pretty good feel. He'd played long enough and had, and he was vocally, he was smashing,
Mm-hmm.
and he, you know, and he was all over that. So he was very tight-eared to certain things. But he's like, no, it starts here. But they're like, well, it's this, here's the count. And he goes, again, fuck that. I don't go by that. Just, I feel it. Go, just go. So is there a way to be structurally sound and somebody on whom you can rely and not be able to read and know what that all that stuff is?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a musician, but I'm not that in depth. You know, I need to get more in depth with it, you know, if I'm going to finish out my career as a musician.
Yeah, I think there's more than one way to skin a cat. I
Good call.
Some of the most prolific people didn't read music.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an excuse not to learn, but
no, hey, good call there too. Yeah,
not an excuse, but some of those prolific people didn't read music, and to this day can't. They just know what sounds good to them. Prime example, someone like a Rick Rubin, who's a producer. He doesn't play anything. He just knows what things are supposed to sound like, and look what he's done.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So,
yeah, thank you. That's a great answer. I mean, because I think about that a lot. I mean, my brain doesn't work that way, and by the time I got to being a musician, it was too. All right, that's a bad way to put it, but seemingly it was too late for me to be even interested. Though I'm like, okay, that's why, like you said earlier, some people can teach. And maybe some people can't teach me, but they can teach somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they can be, you know, that other person's like, no, just show me. But me, I'm like, tell me what the notes are.
Yeah.
And then I'll figure it out. Because I know how the song goes, but I just don't know what those notes are. You're flying through there so fast, I don't know what those notes are. But if I can, then, you know, I can just get the timing down myself. But I have to know what those notes are so I know where to start. You know, we all learn differently, right?
We all learn differently, brother.
That's just the way it is.
We all learn differently.
So then I was talking about my friend. My friend and I were at a gig, and he saw this guitar player and on stage, and he's shredding out a storm. Right, he's doing great, but he goes, you know, that really doesn't fit that song. You know, but it's not. It's not melodic like the rest of the song. So you kind of lose it. You're just kind of like, okay, you know. Eddie Van Halen had a good feel for that.
He did.
You know, Night Ranger, those guys shredded. But boy, did they ever know how to do it melodically.
Yeah. They knew where it went. Yeah, they knew where it went.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that structure thing though. Just knowing, okay, I'm gonna drop this here. I mean, you look at EVH, man. Dude, he played a solo for Michael Jackson and beat it. That's knowing where to put notes, man.
Yeah. And had the balls to go in and change things around a little bit.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot. If you haven't heard it, I'll just say to check it out. I'll send you a link. I'll do that.
Okay.
They have it was an anniversary edition of Thriller that had interviews with Quincy Jones on it. And there was a great one. I won't ruin it for you. There was a great one about calling Eddie Van Halen to do that. So tell me about the band that's with you on this live album.
Sure. So I have Troy Johnson on bass, and I have Todd Roberson on drums, and Nadal Kadal on keyboards. Troy Johnson, he played bass for when Steve Percy went solo. Okay. We had the Steve Percy, whatever his Rat Bastards, I think was the name. So he was with them for a while. He was with him. And then Todd was with them as well. And then they kind of left at different times. Both of them grew up and played with Michael Lee Firkins because Mike's from Omaha.
Okay.
So, and those are the guys, they're on the Expressions that came out in 96. So they've been around with me for that period of time. And so us getting back together, after all those years, and everything went great. So those are my guys. And the keyboard player, he's from Algeria, by way of Minneapolis, St. Paul. So I needed a keyboard player, and I started out with one guy, ended up with another, ended up with him, and he's a young blood, and I like what he brings. Yeah, man. And you gotta have young blood around you at some point. At some point, you got to have one somewhere, right? So he did an incredible job. It took a year and a half to put that whole thing together, and everybody had the material for at least 8 months, right? I figure a song a month, right?
Yes.
Except the keyboard player, because I had a keyboard player and that keyboard bailed on me. So the guy in the video only had 2 weeks. Everyone else had 8 months to learn that stuff.
Don't you love those stories? But usually you hear it from the other guy. Usually it's from the keyboard player going, shit, dude, I had like 2 months.
So he didn't even have that much time, man. So he pulled that off in record time.
Wow.
So it was a really real homecoming for me to be able to pull all that together. Because so they were on the first record, and they happened to be on this one, the in between record, that Expressions 2 short stories.
I still haven't heard that one yet.
You haven't heard that one? Yeah, give that one a listen. That was interesting.
Okay.
Because
I'll put it up here too.
Yeah, you can put it up.
There you go.
That's the record that was never meant to be released.
Oh.
It was never meant to be released, and I tell you why. Because I was doing something at the time. I was trying to get into doing music for TV and commercial.
Oh yeah, okay.
That was the whole thing, and so that's why all the songs are under 3 minutes.
Okay, perfect. There you go.
Because this is the direction I was going, and I had a contract offer from some guy in New York, and I ran it by my attorney, who was semi-retired at the time. He says, you would have to restructure this whole contract to make it do anything for you. I said, okay. So I said, okay, now I have music, but nothing to do with it. What am I going to do? And so 4 or 5 years before that, I was introduced to a PR guy out of the UK, again, a younger cat. Yeah. And I let him know I'm having a record come out. And he says, cool, give me this, give me that. And I'm not really a solo guy, so I don't really have the mindset of thinking that way. I'm a band guy. But I said, okay, this is me front and center. So I started giving them stuff. And that is how I got into this whole Eastern European market, was through him. And I'm dealing with him right now. He just put me in areas that people had never heard or thought I would be into. And so that record had on it, I had Kelly Conlon. He played bass for Death.
Okay.
With Chuck, rest in peace, Chuck. I had Philip Bino from Steve Vai and Atma Anur. Had those casts. I always want to play with Atma from Tony McAlpine. Full circle moment for me. And Greg Howe. I have a bass player named Mel Brown. He plays bass for George Benson. Again, one of my influences. Full circle moment. I had another cat, Kevin Walker. Kevin plays bass for Justin Timberlake.
Wow.
I had him. Who else I have? My buddy Massey Campos. We were in a group called Junkyard Prophet. I don't know if you remember that name or who. I was with those guys. It's a Christian kind of a rap core thing that I was with for a few years. It does
sound familiar to me, because I went through a whole bunch of that phase where it was, I hate to call it a phase, but I was very much into that. You know, there was White Cross, and there's, Barren Cross, and, back in the days where, if you like Iron Maiden, listen to Barren Cross.
So these cats were more modern than
White
that.
Cross.
Right. And so he played bass on a couple songs. I'm trying to think who else I had. And of course, Troy Johnson, my guy from Omaha. I had him on some tunes. My childhood buddy that I grew up with that actually got me out of Omaha. I had him on a song. had a guitar player from my favorite group, Cameo. I had that. So it was really, I put everybody on there that I wanted.
Yeah.
I did that. Right. And so then this record, I went right back to the basics of things. So interesting. And
Wow.
yeah, man. So, and my whole life, I just wanted to put out 3 records, nothing more. That was my whole goal in life, just 3 records for me. If something else comes after that, blessings. But I just wanted to get 3 out there.
Okay.
And so I'm on the verge of doing the 3rd song.
Well, so in doing that, what were all the just in a? I'll let you. I should probably let you get rolling. We can wrap this up, and then we can
sure
do more at another time. But so, what has been the main focus of what keeps you employed as a musician? Have you been you do a lot of touring things with different groups and stuff, and some session work, right?
The primary thing had been touring through the years. Out of a fiscal year, I'm out of the country. Now it's been a couple years since I've done that, but I spent 10 months out of the year out of the country. Yeah, 10 months out of the year out of the country. So, did I lose my camera?
Yeah,
I lost my camera. I'm gonna have to switch cameras here. Hold on.
Okay.
There we go. I'm gonna have to do that. My camera's fell out.
You're
there we
pretty
go.
Slick.
So I had 2 going on. So I spent 10 months out of the year out of the country.
Okay.
So that was pretty much, that's how I kept it rolling. Now I was music supervisor on a documentary and a film. The film came out this year and was nominated for the NAACP award, and I was music supervisor for something that came out a couple years before that. Wow. So I'm branching into that realm. Cool. But it's just whatever it takes, man, to kind of keep that proverbial ball rolling. But very few people, you being a family man as you are, there's no way on God's green earth you're going to say, hey, I'm going to be going out of the country for 10 months out of the year. You're not going to do that. Not and have a family. You're not going to
have a happy family.
Have a happy family.
Where your children still talk to you.
Where your children still talk to you. It reminded me of the story. Speaking of Conklin, Rusty Cooley was with Conklin, right? Yeah. Incredible cat. I don't know what he's doing right now, but he tells the story of how he got recruited to go to Megadeth, and he turned it down because his child was growing up and he wanted to be there for them. Yeah. I said, well, not a lot of people would do that, man.
No,
not a lot of people. I'm not saying none, but not a lot of people would do that.
Right.
He did that. And I said, wow, I got to take my hat off to him, man. I don't know. So essentially, yeah, that's how it's done. I mean, I'm very fortunate when I have house gigs, where I've just in one place for months and years. That's great. But then those wear out and then you end up going on the road. But lately I've just been just laying low and just concentrating on this and doing the best I can.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. That's just
cool.
The story.
Well, let's keep in touch then. And I'll let you get to it, but let's keep in touch about talking about some of the other things in between and some of the major some of those tour stories that we can talk about, things that you learned and things that you picked up, and
yeah, man.
And also exploring other cultures while you're out there doing that,
Yeah, or other cultures exploring me.
yeah.
Because I don't do much, man. I'm a homebody, but
I am too.
I walk the streets and they say, "Where are you from?" And that's what I mean by that. But yeah, man, I'd love to chop it up with you again, man. I know there's a lot more of the ground we cover, but we cover some things. We hadn't talked in a number of years, so this is very groovy, man.
Right. Yeah, it's so cool to get back, and then my hair is so much longer now. So,
dude, but it's still you.
It's still me, man.
Because I grew my stuff out too by accident. Didn't mean to do it, but here it is. Here it is, man. So
we definitely did it. Let's take one more look at this. Here we are again. This is back in the day, man. This is
wow.
Look at that.
Look at that, man.
You know what, dude? That was right before. I think that was like right before I started wearing a ponytail.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I went to NAMM. My hair, I was a tweener. when I went to
I love
Anaheim.
the tweener. I love the tweener phase, right?
Tweener shit's bad. It's bad because you wake up one morning and you look like a freaking rock star. You're like, cool. Next day you get up, you look like a dork. You're like, what is it? Just sit down what you were doing yesterday. And it's like, I don't know what I did yesterday. And you're like, stupid hair. So I came back and I told a buddy of mine at work, I'm like, I'm cutting it. I'm just cutting this stupid hair. And he goes, and he with his finger out said, don't cut your fucking hair. And I was like, okay, man, I'm telling you, don't do it. I'm like, okay, man. And here we are. I went to a Sammy Hagar show and put it in a ponytail for the first time at a Sammy Hagar show while I was hanging out with Mona Nader. And and that was a blast. Yeah. It was, but anyway. These and many other stories are held within.
Yes, brother.
So all right, if you want to hang tight with me for just a second, I'll play out the end of this. And then I'll put this graphic back up, and then I'll talk to you backstage again real quick.
All right, brother.
So everybody, again, Rene, thank you, and thank you for your service again for Veterans Day yesterday. We want to say thank you again.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So it's been a blast, man. We'll look forward to talking again soon. All right, man. Everybody, hang tight. We're going to, I'll put this back up, and then tomorrow we'll be hanging out and talking Prophets of Addiction again with Wayne. Tomorrow he's going to be here, and we'll get into that. So y'all just have a wonderful evening, and take care. And thanks again to Mr. Rene Benton, man. Have a great evening.